over when I trusted you? I'll frame you. TLDR at the bottom. This happened somewhere in the Middle East. Somewhat lengthy. I, 22, met a guy named Ali through my best friend Ahmed. Ali seemed cool enough that we ended up hanging out a lot. When Ahmed, studying abroad, noticed me and Ali become closer, through social media, he warned me not to let my guards down because Ali isn't how he seemed and that he'll use me. I wish I had listed, but I did not because I really thought me and Ali have become really good friends. He was very respectful, and seemed thoughtful. Ali is a citizen of the country we live in, I'm not, and he made me feel really bad for him because of the stories he fed me over hookah and captagon. He told me stories about how his father abused him, his brother and mother. How they're about to be homeless because his father, who lives alone, would not pay rent. He was driving a really messed up car. Once, I was telling him about the dark web and everything that goes through it. He cried and begged me to find someone on the dark web who'd buy his kidneys so he can provide for his family. I was sad. It's very bad luck for a citizen of this country to live almost below the poverty lines. So I felt bad for him. Toppled with captagon, I was very generous to him, too. Since we met I was paying for everything, food, drugs, alcohol, hookah, and we were spending almost all day together. Whenever he mentioned a financial problem I never hesitated to help. I am a distance student with no job, but my father is a very successful businessman and gives me, his only son, a hefty sum every month. My father is really cool and we're like friends. We smoke hash and he manly dips with bear, a habit he picked up during his college years in the American South, which is illegal in this country. My father gets his hash and alcohol from his friend who live near a border town and is heavily involved in smuggling. Every 6 months my father receives the goodies and he pays cash up front. Hash and alcohol are actually very expensive, so 6 months worth is a lot of money. The reason my father gets 6 months worth at once is because a lot of Western, African and Asian businessmen visit him. And alcohol is something they all want. Now, Ali already knows all that. Unbeknownst to me, Ali had a greedy plan devised all along. He knew all the procedures involved during that transaction between my father and the smugglers. And he waited 6 months so he and his other friends can rob them. He sure was using me and he was really good at it. I had mentioned to him that I was thinking about throwing a humble party when the goodies arrive. He asked me the exact day and I told him without thinking. And that faithful day arrived and he and his friends stalked our house until the refrigerated trailer arrived. Before they unloaded it, however, my friend and his crew of 6, masked, armed and impersonating the police, raided our house. Cuffed 2 of my uncles, 4 of the smugglers, and locked them in a room with 5 other clueless people who were in the house, and the robbers made off with the cash and the trailer. The locked up people genuinely believed the police was searching the entire house, so they cited quietly. They didn't know the police had already left. 2 hours later my sister got to a dead empty house and frantically called me. I was at a cafe blowing hookah alone thinking my friend Ali was sleeping. When she called I drove home and started looking in every room and I found my terrified family and smugglers. I asked what has happened and one of the smugglers instantly laughed and asked me if there was police outside, to which I replied no, and then he cursed and said the corrupt police stole the booze and hash. Since that was a common occurrence, usually with smaller amounts, we all thought that was just that. Crooked cops. The tech-savage person he is, my father has most of the house outfitted with a high-tech surveillance. Me and my uncles started watching and that's when I realized how good the sound system was. You can hear everything so clearly. I also noticed a very familiar body posture and gestures from one of the officers. I thought, could that be who I think he is? When I heard his voice, multiple times, I was dumbfounded and furious. I drove to his home and his car was not in the parking lot. I called him and he answered, acting as though he just woke up. I told him that the police just robbed us. He acted all concerned and I told him I'll be at the cafe. Meanwhile I called Ahmed and told him everything. He was not surprised at all. In fact, he told he knew Ali and his friends impersonate a police officer to rob foreigners. He told me Ali had actually spent 6 months in prison a couple of years back for theft. I had no clue. Anyways, Ali came to the cafe, eager to hear what happened and congratulating me because it could have gone bad. I played along. I didn't told him shit. I never gave away the fact I knew everything. I was just thinking about how to possibly screw him over. If I called cops on him and his friends, they'll most definitely rat us out. They're thieves. The stuff had to come from somewhere. I decided to play the long game and think what I could do to him, thoroughly. I also told my dad and he told me to never tell him that I knew it was him and to try and break contacts with him. Since he was a citizen and my father didn't want it to bring unnecessary attention to himself because he got a business to protect. Also, my father never got involved directly with hash and alcohol. His brothers would take the fall if anything was to happen. My uncle, however, was concerned if they somehow if up and get caught they'd still snitch, so he asked me to find out where exactly they stashed the stuff. After weighing my options, I decided to buy a GPS tracking device and attach it to 3 of Ali's friends and his cars. I found out the place where all 3 cars frequented at the same time and told my uncle. It turns out the house belongs to one of Ali's friend's cousin, Wasim, who happened to be a huge dealer of pills. My uncle then approached Wasim's friend about pills, alcohol and hash, and the friend took him right to Wasim's home. That way my uncle confirmed probably all of the booze were inside. My uncle, 26, then turned the table on them by he and his friends also impersonating secret police raided Wasim's home and took every drug and alcohol available. They also injected Wasim with mixture of drugs, fill his car with all the pills he was selling, and they deliberately crashed his car on a highway and placed a passed out Wasim in the driver's seat. I don't think he knew when exactly the real police caught up with him. Well, my uncle's great plan got me thinking on how I could finally get Ali. I was still angry at him. Ali didn't know that I was bi, that's because you don't talk about that kind of stuff around here. Anyways, I met a guy, Angel, from North America, neither US nor Canada, on his final year studying as an international student. We hit it off and I started spending more time with him as I continued to distance myself from Ali. Ali still had the money he stole from us, so he didn't care much. His life basically is, pop pills, smoke hookah, eat, sleep, repeat. He got that covered for a while. Fast forward a year, my entire family, along with the family business, moved to the neighboring country. I left behind with Angel as me and Angel were discussing about moving to his country, and I was seriously considering that as well. Finally, when he graduated, we decided to live. Angel would first go and arrange everything before I join him after a month. Out of the blue, I remembered about Ali. I barely saw him in the past 6 months by making up excuses like I'm not in the country. I'm just going to live without doing anything to him? No way. I thought to myself. A plan came to my mind. Just like how my uncle screwed Wasim by framing him, I wanted to do the same. I told Angel all about my plans. He thought the outcome could be too cruel. He is a very gentle person. But I assured him that they'd have killed my family had my uncles resisted the day of the robbery. Angel knew a little bit of the story, but he never met Ali. My plan was for Angel to rent a car a week before his departure. And a day before his departure, he parked it in front of a supermarket while the engine is running to get something quickly. I then stole the car. Camera show a well-disguised man speeding away. He called the police. They reviewed the footage and alerted the rental company. The rental company then gave him another car, which he returned at the rental company's airport branch the next day before departing home. I hid the car I stole at a location cops would not go to look. I also hid a fairly large amount of drugs and some cash under the trunk lid. I put the keys on the front tire. Then I traveled the breadth and length of the Atlantic Ocean to go be with my Angel. After overcoming jet lag and the confusion of time differences, I called Ali on Snapchat and asked him to please pick me and Mum from the airport within an hour, as my uncle couldn't pick us up as something urgent came up at the last hour, but he has left a car at location, and the key is on the front left tire. Since Ali's car is a mess, he didn't offer to use his own. He assured me I had nothing to worry about. He picked up the nice BMW rental in less than 30 minutes and he let me know. "I'll see you at the airport," was his last words. I put the drugs under the trunk lid because airport security would always, without exception, would lift the lid up to check. I later learned that he got 5 years for being in the position of a stolen vehicle and possession of drugs with intent to distribute. TLDR. The guy I thought was my best friend robbed my family at gunpoint, so I framed him and he ended up going to prison for 5 years.